right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Upload. I'm your host, Michael Batavia, and today I have a very nice and great guest, Snigdha Roy. Uh, she's a very, very thoughtful person on all things. She's studying machine learning, deep learning, AI safety. She's based in California, and she's learning in a wonderful community. And I just wanted to pick her brain on some of the interesting things going on in the AI space, especially since the past couple of episodes have been talking about AI, machine learning, and we might even get to some of the latest news regarding Elon Musk buying Twitter. So, Snigdha, how are you doing this afternoon, evening?
It's approaching afternoon here. Doing well. Thank you. Happy to be.
Yeah, I forgot about the Pacific time part.
It's okay.
All right. So one of the things you've been lately doing is that you've been in an AI safety course at UCLA studying how AI is used for malintent. And definitely there's been a lot of components for AI and security purposes. Of course, BlackRock recently had a problem where the AI was managing its portfolios and suddenly if one stock crashes, hey, you don't have access to that portfolio. It's the AI's fault. Or there's definitely cyber war coming in the future where AI is just going to be used to target things. So, what have you been learning recently, and how do you think it applies to like modern day AI, cyber warfare, things like that?
I read this paper and it said something like before we made the internet what it is now, people couldn't consider the risks of cyber attacks and like cybersecurity risks. Um before I mean I'm like kind of butchering it, but basically it's like before you develop some kind of very potentially transformative technology, be aware of the risks that it can create. I don't think people probably accounted for like the security problems that we now face with the internet. I mean, there's so many like attacks and hacks um that we like that people face, companies, large companies face on a day-to-day, personal individual like people are facing on a day-to-day. Uh, when it comes to developing something as powerful as artificial intelligence, I think it's probably worth considering that there are possible ways that it can go pretty bad. Uh, and if we don't take that into account, the gravity at which it could be bad is also very unpredictable. Um, so basically, I think we're we're at a period that it's like I don't know if I want to consider it like the takeoff period or anything, but we're at a period where we don't have technology that's like sufficiently advanced to like kill us all. I think not quite yet. P doom is pretty low according to my estimates, but I can say that like we have the growing foundations for what could be really terrible, but also very 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 good. So it's not to say that we shouldn't develop it, it's to say that if we do develop it on that level, we should be very careful, um because it's it feels like the internet on steroids or something
No,
in
it's
in in like a very figurative sense, but yeah.
I think I said something in a blog post. I'll release it soon, or it might already be released when this is up, that a lot of companies are rushing towards artificial and general intelligence. They definitely want to be the first in the race, like Microsoft, Google. Yet I don't think they really comprehend what's the full extent of artificial and general intelligence.
I'm not convinced that like major companies like the ones you just mentioned are like explicitly trying to build AGI. I think they're just trying to develop like more advanced AI itself
Yeah.
and like in very narrow ways. Um, I think if someone probably builds AGI, it'll be by accident. Uh, and if it is on purpose, the companies that will end up building AGI are probably like OpenAI and DeepMind.
Yeah.
It's probably them. When I say accident, I think it'll probably be like it's probable to me that another nation like China, for example, who's interested in competing with us um in terms of like technological advancement. It's like an arms race. It's like the modern day
Yeah.
arms race. I wouldn't be surprised if like China accidentally builds AGI.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be a disaster.
yeah, no kidding. Um, so like that is what I would think. Also, like there is something to mention. There's something worth noting that's like most AI researchers or most ML researchers aren't convinced that there's like serious risk.
Yeah.
Very few people are convinced that safety is like a legitimate workable thing. In fact, it seems more sci-fi than anything for the average ML researcher or the average, yeah, most people are working on capabilities. And capabilities research, like it has its place. But I think it's worth considering safety more heavily. I think maybe there needs to be a better ratio of balance because so far the ratio is like I would say like 80 or 90% people like are working on capabilities and then like maybe 5 or 10% are probably working on. No, I would say even like the ratio is even more skewed. I think more people probably need to consider risks more than capabilities. Um, but I can see why both sides are very enticing for like the average ML researcher.
Yeah. So what do you think we can like do more about getting people to recognize the risks of AI?
Well, on an individual level, the most high impact thing that someone can probably do is like work in the field.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think there's like any kind of like lobbying or like grassroots thing that you can actually do or like try to change someone's mind. You can't go up to like Google Brain's lab and just be like, "Hello, you have to like stop working on capabilities or like whatever." I think like the most valuable thing you could probably do is just discover, or rather, it's to read about what are the risks, read the important critical papers, um, become better at like being the best computer scientist that you can be, understand the problems on like a very low level, and uh work in AI safety, whether it's through like working on aligning the AI to be friendly, or whether it's like governance, or whether it's like monitoring or some other kind of like subdomain or sub area that is all in favor of safe AI. That's probably the most high impact thing one can do. um what kind of particular area is like dependent on your interests and like what you think is the most valuable thing to do. I personally think that like monitoring language models is probably the most useful thing right now because we don't understand them in well enough. um they probably will have some kind of emergent behaviors that if we don't actually fully understand could go bad. So I think like what, but luckily it's not neglected. So it's not me saying like, oh, this is the thing that's happening and everyone should work on it because nobody's working on it. It's not. It's like very low level on neglectedness because people that are working on safety understand that this is one of the more tangible things that can be done versus a speculative thing of trying to determine a power seeking AI. I'm not totally convinced that like power seeking AI or deceptive AI. And also, I'm also very open to being wrong because I don't think I know well enough yet. Um, so I think I'm open to being wrong, but I'm not convinced that like things like determining a power seeking AI or like like skewing its motivations are things that are worth focusing on right now. Um, maybe some people should focus on them, but that makes sense why they have like a higher neglectedness than things like monitoring and interpretability. Um, but those are my thoughts. And also when I was saying things like oh, like one should like get better understanding what's going on in the field, one should get better at like becoming a good computer scientist. I wasn't just saying that to other people. I'm actually just really saying that to myself. But if this also applies to other people, that's great. But it's really for myself.
No, definitely. You have been doing a lot of learning with AI and deep learning, and
Not as much as I should. Uh, it's easy to get caught up in like the day to day
yeah,
stuff, but I could be doing more.
yeah. I think definitely there's a lot of fields to explore. I think I mean, on the podcast we've just mostly been talking about AI risks getting caught up into the day to day. That's explicitly what I said in the first episode. We're not gonna like traumatize and squeeze out. Oh my God, AI is bad. Oh no. Just another question based off of what you were saying. how do you
Mhm.
like how do we I'm not sure if you have the appropriate answer for this, but how do you think like have you done any like policy perspective in your work with AI safety? Like,
Oh God. I mean, when you say like with your work, you make me sound like I've done a lot of stuff. I've barely done stuff. I'm a first year.
no, it's fine.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't want to overcredit in any sense. Um I'm I wouldn't say I'm like further than most people my age. I would say I'd say like other people can do more. Other people have done more. Um and like I'm only sharing things at a very like surface level. So it's like worth caveating with this.
So
Not exactly. Today I have a meeting with my fellowship and I just did a governance reading. Um I'm I'm not convinced yet that AI governance is the most important thing to work on. I feel like while we can try because it's like the similar policy of like I feel like this is somewhat analogous to like nuclear risk, where it's like, okay, we're like building more capable nuclear missiles, but will the government really be able to stop it? I'm not sure. I feel like it's inevitable that dangerous things are built. What's most important is figuring out how we can make them safe
yeah.
because it doesn't feel like even with like governance measures put in place or something. Also, I'm not convinced the government will understand it well will understand it well enough either. Like the complexity of what this is or what this could be. It's like barely legible. It's barely legible and convincing to most people in the ML field. Well, maybe not illegible. I would say it's not even entirely convincing to most people in the ML field. And if most people in the ML field, including like big people like Andrew and G, who like doesn't really think AI is really risky. I mean, he said that publicly. So if like big people like Andrew aren't convinced that this is worth working on, then how do you expect like government midwits to understand what's going
No,
on?
that's the thing with government.
Yeah, so I'm not convinced that like AI governance makes the most amount of sense. I think it's like exciting and like maybe it's possible. I'm not sure what my like rates are of like believing that this might happen that is worthwhile working on. But I think like dangerous AI seems inevitable. Whether we can make it safe or not is like really up to us. And focusing on policy, also for me, is not a very exciting thing. I
Yeah.
think I'm like curious about it to the extent of which I wonder how viable this is, but not to the point where I think, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I want to devote my life to or something.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
also, but this could change though, because I'm like super young and I don't know well enough. So
No. You've been doing a lot. So I mean, I
mm,
think what you've been doing will probably influence you in some way, some capacity later on. Anyway, I want to switch gears a little bit since I'm not sure if I'm going to cover this next week or not.
sure.
So Elon Musk, he bought Twitter.
Oh my God.
It's been causing a lot of outcry of everyone at Twitter saying, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know when rip Twitter. Come follow me on all the other platforms." And I think they might be overreacting a little bit because I think they're complaining a little bit, but they're gonna stay on anyway. They aren't gonna completely quit Twitter. They're just saying things for saying things. What are your thoughts on that?
That's funny. People that are complaining about Twitter are complaining it on Twitter.
You're benefiting Elon Musk by saying it on Twitter. What's your point?
Yeah, I think it's so funny. I'm not very interested in the news like by myself. Like if you put me in a box by myself, what would I want to look at? Not the news. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, but my friends like sometimes they want to see what's going on and they want like memes, and I will want to make them happy by showing them memes.
This
And
is a
like,
memeful situation right here with Twitter.
yeah, exactly. It's like it's about the lulls, okay? Mm. So so yeah, anyway. What do I think? I think Twitter is probably gonna stay.
Yeah.
Like it it doesn't seem likely because that it'll like go off the grid or like leave or whatever. People or like there'll be like a mass exodus. I'm not convinced. I think people like will try to make efforts, but that's just cope. I think people are just coping. um what else? Oh, it's just cope is one. Two, I think like Elon probably knows what he's doing, but he's also probably very arrogant and has a lot of hubris. So he'll like do some things that aren't very good, for no reason that he'll like, well, or rather no reason that he'll explain for. So it seems to me that like Twitter's probably gonna stay. Some people might leave successfully, but the ratio might be very small. People are trying to use Mastodon.social or some crap. Uh, I'm not convinced that's like a strong enough alternative for there to be like a mass migration. Um, what else? Oh, um, people also love chaos and drama. So
That's
by
why
the very
reality TV exists.
right, so for the very nature of that, it's very fun to talk about like Elon doing all this stuff, blaming him, doing like calling him out or so virtue signaling that he's like a bad manager or whatever. It's very easy to do these things. I also think it's worthwhile, like, while criticisms can be useful, I think people should also imagine what it'd be like to be in his place. Um, Also, Twitter is not the same as SpaceX or Neuralink or Tesla. The thing is, like, nobody wakes up thinking, I want to grow up and be a Twitter employee. I think
Oh
working
my
at
God.
but like working at SpaceX or Tesla is like, yeah, I want to work on cool electric cars. So like, oh, I want to work on a rocket. Like that is actually a lot of people's dreams. So they can withstand a lot more of like managerial crap or bullshit or whatever. Um, but working at Twitter is different. So people are probably less tolerant because Twitter is there. Working on Twitter is for mostly for the reasons of some kind of status, high salary, prestige, etc., etc. So if not a lot of people are withstanding the stuff that they're dealing with for the Elon Twitter or Elon version of Twitter, the Elon regime, if you will, um, it's probably because it's not their dream job and they don't want to deal with the crap, which I think is like fair and fine. People
Yeah.
that are excited about it should do it, and people that aren't should do what they're more excited about, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely good to have an outsider's perspective. Like I'm on Twitter mostly as a worker, just seeing what chaos is going on. Should I be concerned? Yeah. It's
I
like
mean, if you,
such a
in my,
side tangent.
in my opinion, it's like if you can't control it, don't worry about it. I don't know.
Yeah. I think, yeah, exactly. Elon's gonna do what he
Doesn't apply
wants.
to most things. This doesn't apply to everything, though. I will caveat that. Like the idea of like, don't worry about things that you can't control.
Oh
This
no.
doesn't apply to everything. You should sometimes worry about things that you can't control.
Yeah, no, I think definitely that applies to what just happened in the elections. But I think definitely people are just going to say things. People who quit will quit based on their principles. People who stay will stay. Mostly those who agree with Elon's values and those uh, who value working at Twitter as like a nice, uh, comfy company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then again, it's just like it's such a side tangent going on that you could completely tune out of this and just be like, ha ha ha, Dogecoin to the moon or something like that, or just Twitter go bonkers or things like that. So it's just fun, and humor is how we communicate as a society, and it's very important.
I was actually gonna say humor is how we cope with a disastrous reality.
Also, that, which is what people are doing right now.
Yeah,
It's all satire.
yeah, exactly. I think what is it? Wittgenstein said like, uh, some of the best philosophical frameworks are born out of jokes or some crap.
Yeah.
I think Wittgenstein said something like that. Yeah, it's funny.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's really it. Is there like anything you want to kind of leave the audience with? Basically, like, how you live your life, how you're doing in sort of you live in a kind of a community where you learn off of multiple individuals. Like anything you want to say, just as the last thing?
Um, I think I'm gonna probably just tell people what I tell myself, which is like continue to find excellent peers, the most excellent that you can. Uh, raise very high standards of excellence, try to live by them, and stay as strict with them as you can, especially if you're young. Um, Focus on the object level stuff. It's very easy to talk about crap. Um, Showing your competency is a lot harder. It's easier to rationalize in such a data set. Um, if you feel like if you feel like you're actually challenging yourself, increase the factor by 3x and see what that will do. And if that doesn't feel challenging enough, increase it by another 2x or something. Um, I'm really just telling things that I would say to myself, that I have been saying to myself. So this is not like any kind of like sagely advice or like motivating thing I'm trying to put out, but if it also applies to you, you should do it. I'm assuming most of your audience is probably young. It's probably like in undergrad. Um, and so or maybe they're in postgrad, but even then, it's it's worth focusing on the long game. Also, work and life are the same. Don't forget that either. Truly excellent people, I think, that are like at the top of their field. Um, Take into account that work and life are the same. The whole work-life balance crap is just like a midwits game. But I could be canceled for this. So
No, it's fine. I don't know. I mean, we have a good audience here at WNYU. I forgot to introduce this is on the radio, the 89.1 college radio. Uh, definitely you won't be canceled over this. Maybe I will be canceled later on when people just snoop through my internet and be like, "Hey, you interviewed a guest who said something bad," or you might be canceled. You seem like the type of person who's likely to be canceled and then not care and then survive anyway.
me,
So yeah.
yeah, this is probably true. Yeah, most things don't matter. Most things are not worth sweating over.
Yeah. I mean, it's been very nice when I've been in dorm rooms, just like shutting off the phone, just shutting off. I don't like have access to news, just briefly looking on what's going on. Does it affect me? Does it not? Just, enjoying experiences in the outside world. So once you're done listening to this podcast,
Touch grass.
touch grass, touch the water,
Touch grass.
touch
Or like
grass.
do both at the same time.
Find a lake, drive to the nearest lake.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, touch grass.
It's just such a wonderful ending.
Happy to help. Uh,
Yeah,
sure.
I really appreciate you having the time, Snigda. And if you end up working on anything else or you just have any thoughts, just come. You're welcome anytime. Uh, it's just a very interesting person to talk to.
Yeah, welcome to write to me. We're friends for a few years, so happy to help in whatever way I can.
Hmm. All right. Thank you so much for WNYU 89.1 FM. I'm Michael Batavia, and we'll see you back here next time. Have a great night.
Bye.